tonight to celebrate Lonnie Lee's 60th birthday. Is that right, Suzanne? Just shave 10 off it. I'm certainly not going to speak as long as Rob Oakeshott did yesterday.
Oh, thank God.
Hey, how good was that as a speech? Was that a good long speech?
It was pathetic.
Ended up with the wrong result at the end of 22 minutes. Anyway, that's a political point. I started playing Lonnie Lee records on the radio back in 1959, which is when Lonnie Lee started presenting records to the radio. So I think I'm a little equipped to be here tonight to say just a few words, and there will be a few words on Lonnie Lee's behalf, and we wish him a very happy 70th birthday. I think it's fabulous that all of you have turned up tonight to be with Lonnie and the lads and his wife to celebrate a rather momentous occasion in anybody's life. Can't strike you, we're all getting old, aren't we? Lonnie is 70 in a few days' time. Bob Rogers is in his 80s, and of course Bob would be one of the first to have played a Lonnie Lee record ever. Laws is 75, I'm 68. We're all getting very old, aren't we? Apart from some of the people in the room who are not in the least bit old and are having a bit of a snigger. I noticed, however, when I went to a recent Lonnie Lee concert, that there really were, and I mean it quite genuinely, a lot of very young people in the audience. So music, good music that is, transcends all ages. It doesn't matter what age you are. When you're presenting music, if you're presenting good music and being a very good entertainer, you will entertain people of all demographics, which is what Lonnie Lee does. I have to say that Lonnie Lee is one of the most professional guys in the business. I mean, you have to be professional, of course, to survive for 54 years, but I mean, he's a singer, he's a songwriter, he writes books. He's diverse from his normal show. I mean, after 54 years, you'd think, and a lot of people do it, a lot of entertainers do it, they still get out on stage 45, 50, whatever years later on, and they present their hit songs that they were doing all those years ago. Well, Lonnie certainly sings those songs because the audience want to hear them, but he diversifies. He does a Johnny Ray show, which is absolutely fantastic, and we saw, who's seen the Johnny Ray show that Lonnie Lee does? Yeah, it's brilliant. Because he obviously thought that Johnny Ray was the Ants Pants, and he gets on and does a Johnny Ray show, and he sings all of Johnny's songs, and he comes back in the second half and does his own shows. I believe, and I've not seen it, that he does an Elvis show. What's the show called? Elvis? Hillbilly Cat. Fantastic name. If you want to see that show, and I might go along myself this coming Saturday night at the Blacktard Workers Club, he'll be doing his Elvis Hillbilly Cat show. I know he's going out on a cruise, and who wouldn't want to be on this cruise called Blue Suede Cruise, along with a lot of other rockers. They will be on the beautiful Rhapsody of the Seas, and that leaves in November. Imagine being on the high seas with Lonnie Lee and all that great music and a few of the other guys along the way. As I say on the website, there are photographs. The website's just the best website I've ever seen for an entertainer, and I mean that from the heart. Photographs of here and way back in the past. It gives you the tour dates about where he's going to be performing, etc., etc., etc. He worked at 2GB when he left work, and I know he's just not here at the moment, so he may not hear me, because he must have worked for exactly the same person I worked for. I worked for Pat Halliday at 2GB as an office boy in 1958. So I bet pounds to peanuts that Lonnie Lee worked for Pat Halliday as an office boy probably a couple of years earlier to that. His start on show business was in 1956 on the iconic Alan Toohey Amateur Hour, and he received invitations from various hotels because they liked what they heard on the amateur hour. They said, well, come and sing for us. So he was receiving money like £1.10 to do 1 or 2 hour shows. That's really not all that much bad money, actually, for 55, 56. The first record was Ain't It So, and that was 1959. It was written in collaboration with the iconic Johnny O'Keefe. Lonnie Lee had 8 national #1 hit records. There was Starlight, Star Bright, there was Yes Indeed I Do, there was Defenseless, and my absolute favourite, I don't know whether you agree or not one of the biggest hit records for Lonnie. It was a #1, however, When the Bells Stop Ringing. I think it's just what a good song is that, and I can't wait to play it every time I get an opportunity on the radio. He was on Bandstand a lot, he was on 6 O'Clock Rock a lot, he was on television almost non-stop, because he was it in those years. Then he did the stadium shows, of course, on that revolving stage, and appeared with some of the biggest names in show business who came out from the United States, who more often than not, of course, were upstaged by the locals, the Deltones and Lonnie Lee and Johnny O'Keefe, all upstaged the people like Ricky Nelson, etc., and Paul Anka, etc., etc. I wish Lawsy was here tonight, because Lonnie, I read, actually was given the golden microphone in 1961, which was around about 30 years before Lawsy got himself a golden microphone. So, see, first again, Lonnie. I'm actually having lunch with John Laws and Tim Webster and Steve Lehman and a few other people tomorrow, so I'll make sure that I drop that little hint in that you weren't first with the golden microphone, old mate. He lived in the United States from 1971 to 1984, and during that time performed all over the United States, based mainly in Nashville, Tennessee, but did live in a number of other parts of the United States. And during this time, I think Lonnie would tell you that one of the highlights that he had was a friendship that he formed with Roy Orbison, the Big O, and he wrote a number of songs along with Roy Orbison. He also wrote along the way for Cher, for Glenn Campbell, and many other rather big names. I know Lonnie Lee is very frustrated at the lack of airplay that he receives today. Some music directors and program directors really wouldn't know a good song, honestly, if it popped up in their Wheaties. Quite honestly, they wouldn't. Can't You See It in My Eyes was written by the guy who wrote the rock and roll classic Rip It Up. He also wrote Good Golly Miss Molly. He also wrote Starlight Star Bright for Lonnie Lee. And he wrote this song, I think Lonnie recorded about 5 years ago. Is that right? Can't You See It in My Eyes? And I thought that's just one of the prettiest songs that I ever heard. And if music directors knew their stuff, they would have put it on the radio. Any radio station in Australia that played popular music, they should have played that and some of the hit banging stuff that they do play, and it would have been a big hit record. As it was, of course, it's one of the songs that Lonnie's fans ask for every time he's on stage. He performs constantly. He's just done Tasmania. He'll be, as I say, at the Blacktown RSL this coming Saturday night. Go and see him at Tamworth if you haven't. He's there at the Tamworth Country Music Festival every January, and he's an absolute knockout. In this most cutthroat of businesses, Lonnie Lee has survived, but not only survived, he has absolutely flourished, constantly in demand, and I think it's testimony to the kind of person that he is, and certainly to the entertainer that he is, that he will very shortly be 70 years of age. He doesn't look it. I don't know what it is that he's on, but I'm going to get some of it, I can tell you. 70 years of age, 54 years continuously in the entertainment industry, and there are not too many people who can say that for sure. So let's have a round of applause for the man, Lonnie Lee. Happy birthday, Lonnie, and now here's the Lee Men.
Well, we have a little introduction for Lonnie, but I thought just before we do that, I should say something that I first met Lonnie in 1958, and even then I thought there was something special about Lonnie. But there's something special. It wasn't that he was he's singing or anything, but he was one of the few singers that actually did sing in tune in those days. So wasn't he singing? Wasn't his good looks, wasn't his guitar playing. The something special was actually his sister. She was so special that I married her. So we have a sort of a bit of a bond there. So you're probably wondering which one's Lonnie Lee. It's not this guy, not that guy. If you give it a One, two, three. Look at Mr. Lee. 3, 4, 5. Look at him and jive. Mr. Lee, Mr. Lee. Oh, Mr. Lee, Mr. Lee, Mr. Lee. Oh, Mr. Lee, Mr. Lee, Mr. Lee. Oh, Mr. Lee, Mr. Lonnie Lee.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, the man you've all been waiting for, Mr. Lonnie